Welcome to Oracle TV. I'm Fritz Nelson, Senior Vice President of Marketing, and I will be your host recapping the Oracle Defense Tech Summit in Austin, Texas. Now you might be wondering, what is the Defense Tech Summit? Oracle is bringing together an entire ecosystem of companies building the innovative technology to make sure we are mission ready for the world we face today. To cover that, I've got a great lineup for you of Oracle executives and some of the most innovative companies making a big splash in the defense tech sector, including Anduril and Palantir. Now, we want to hear from you too, so comment on whatever platform you're tuning in from. Give us a shout out, ask questions. We'll cover as many of those as we can. Okay, let's get started. All right, to kick things off, I'm here with Kim Lynch. She is the Executive Vice President for the Government Defense and Intelligence Group here at Oracle. Thanks for joining us, Kim.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a great, fun event.
Yes, it has. And first thing I want to get to is, Oracle, Government Defense and Intelligence. Now, we're not new to any of those areas in particular, but the group is somewhat new. So why now? What's exciting about this?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we've supported the government and national security and defense missions since our inception, so it's part of who we are. But what we've done is we've really brought all of the teams together around the customer. So we've taken a new approach and we've designed our teams to be really mission-centric, and they take all of our products, put them together, solve problems for the customers, and deploy them that way instead of selling individual product lines.
Fabulous. And today here at this event, we brought the entire ecosystem, if you will, of defense tech players together. What are some of the main challenges that they have right now and that you're hearing here at the event?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges and why it's so perfect for us is the amounts of data that the government collects. And the ability to process that is very challenging for them, and they are overwhelmed with data deluge. And what is such a perfect opportunity for us, who know how to structure data, who hold the world's most important data securely, and unlock it for decisional advantage, is exactly the kind of help that the government needs right now to be able to make better decisions and provide decisional operational advantage to the warfighter.
The landscape has changed a bit in the last few years, so what makes that extra challenging?
Yeah, so extra challenging, but also extra opportunities. Right now, over the last several months, we've seen a rapid adoption of technology, and so our ability to deploy our clouds at all classification levels is just a rapid acceleration at the moment, which is pretty exciting times for us. And then to layer in all our solutions from our data platforms to our business applications, we're really able to help customers much more directly now.
And what role does AI play in helping this along, help us fight these challenges as well?
Yes, so our customers, our government customers, are very interested in AI. They know they need it, and their real challenge is structuring the data to be ready for AI, and that's something that we also are exceptional at and can do within the products they already own, primarily in our database. And then that gets it ready for AI. Then it moves to our cloud. As we're moving all of their current data platforms into our cloud, we can really unlock the AI capabilities with 23 AI and with our cloud. So it's a great time to be able to support them in that journey.
Can you give us some examples of a customer, maybe one example of a customer who is using some of this technology to really transform?
Sure, a great one kind of tied to today, since we had Army Futures Command with us, is to talk about Army and their real rapid adoption of cloud technology. So Oracle Cloud has been a partner at Army, and some examples of things we're doing is right now, Army has 300,000 records that we're helping apply LLMs against so that they can really organize them differently, get insights from them, and unlock those 300,000 records in all new ways.
We had the general earlier as part of your opening keynote. What were some of your big takeaways from that discussion?
The real key insight there is that the Army and the entire Department of Defense is really pushing forward right now and looking for partnership and looking for integration. So they don't want even just one company. They want a suite of companies to come together, integrate solutions, and be able to propose new ideas to them. So it's not about responding to requirements anymore that the government defines. It's about creating new capabilities and showcasing them and driving them with other companies for customer solutions.
There have been a lot of news lately, even in the last 24 hours,
Right.
From big tech companies delivering innovation for government and defense. Why now? What makes this time so unique?
I think right now there is a real acknowledgement and focus that our adversaries are going in and taking technology out of their own industries and their own innovators very quickly. And we've seen that over the last couple years, that the innovation gap between us and our adversaries was starting to close because they were able to go and just take it. For us, we have to really think about acquisition and how we get the latest and greatest technology into the government's hands faster. And that's what we're seeing, is this real recognition that to widen that gap again, we have to move faster and we have to partner differently. And the government's starting to really drive that.
And I think, I want to touch on that for a minute, because we're at this event where we have a lot of innovative companies that are making, even startups making brand new technology. And government is often, and you've talked about, government used to be seen as, moving ploddingly slow, but this imperative to move fast, you can just sort of feel it here.
Yeah.
What are some of your takeaways just from the conversations with some of these innovative companies today?
I think everyone's really getting excited about this as a market now, whereas before it seemed like a high barrier to entry, never really a good return on investment. Companies, smaller companies who wouldn't necessarily in the past be able to afford to try and break into the government market are seeing that it's becoming easier to access. And also by partnering with companies like Oracle, who really understand the government space, they can get their technologies in the hands of the government much faster and see a better return on investment for themselves, or at least a better way to do business. And so there's a lot more excitement about coming and bringing things to the government market.
Well, let's wrap with that. What are you most excited about in terms of how Oracle is being perceived in this kind of new landscape of defense?
We are seen as a true mission partner who's bringing solutions and not selling products. And so that's exciting to be viewed as a true mission partner. And we know it because our customers are bringing their challenges and just asking for our help in terms of how to define the requirements going forward, or how to define what they should be really investing in. So that true partnership is exhilarating for us.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Now, in between our conversations, you're going to hear from some exciting companies making some very cool new technology, and who are also part of our newly announced Oracle Defense ecosystem, a first of its kind global initiative that will redefine how government and defense deliver technology innovation. So first up, we're going to hear from Entanglement and Arkit.
Hi, I'm Jason Turner, CEO of Entanglement. We're a next-gen computing and AI company building some of the most disruptive applications, spanning vertical markets like cybersecurity, optimization for data centers, and biosurveillance and other tools. And we're using quantum-inspired algorithms with AI, deep learning, machine learning, and marrying that to the best forms of computing and processing.
Hi there, my name's Sean Carnew. I'm the Senior Director for Government Defense for Arkit. We're a UK-based software company that is looking at modernizing security of data within networks and infrastructure for companies in defense and government. We provide an innovative solution that allows you to, for the first time ever, to secure your data right from the bleeding edge, from IoT cameras and sensors, all the way back through to your core network and into the cloud environment, and to do that at scale.
Hello and welcome back. I am here with Oracle's Vice President of Sovereign Cloud, Rand Waldron. Thanks for joining me.
It's great to be here.
Okay, well, we just talked to Kim about this, but I want to get your take. Actually, we're going to compare answers.
Uh-oh.
So,
it's always dangerous.
Yes. What are some of the top challenges that you're hearing from the government, technology industry, defense industry today?
So I think really there's two, but they permeate everything. And so those two are speed and cost. And so the government's got to be able to innovate and move as fast as private industry, so the government can take advantage of all the things that are happening in the private industry. And the government's got to be able to move as fast as our adversaries. And if you look at what's happening globally, whether it be Ukraine or Iran or in the Western Pacific, if you look at what's happening, these are not minor league adversaries. These are adversaries that are focusing their entire governments, their entire private sectors on innovating faster than we can. And so the government's got to be fast. The second thing is the government's got to be cost effective. And so what happens is the government is used to working in a world where cost doesn't matter, where there is an infinite amount of funding from Congress, and they just get out there and they spend and they spend. That world is truly gone. And so they have a set of constraints that are in some way very much like the private sector. If you were to ask a company, the company's going to say they want to be faster, they need it to be cheaper as well. The constraints are very similar. The stakes are much higher. We see that throughout the government right now. Every single program manager needs to make it happen faster and needs to show that they can do it more cost effectively.
Okay, so the obvious next question is, how is Oracle helping overcome those challenges?
Well, that's what we do. So at its simplest, what we have done is create a platform and a series of technologies that make it really easy for the government to innovate that quickly. So you have compliance concerns, great. We have regions that meet those compliance requirements. You have requirements for security and authority to operate, great. We have technologies and documentation that make it fast to achieve that authority to operate. You have concerns about cost, amazing. We built the lowest cost cloud that's the highest performant. So this moment, rather than being a threat to us, this moment is actually a perfect match for how we built our technology. And so we're doing this at scale in the US, we're doing it around the world, because we have found our moment and the government is finding us as the answer to these challenges.
You talked earlier about sovereign cloud as part of your title.
It is.
Why is that so critical in this environment now?
Two reasons. War and AI. So right now, every country around the world has realized that the way they're going to deter and win the next conflict isn't by throwing the most artillery at their adversary, isn't by throwing the most people at the problem. The way they're going to deter the next conflict is through technological innovation. And so they realize that in order to innovate technologically fast enough, they need cloud. That's the only way to get their developers to move faster, their companies to move faster. And for the kinds of things they're innovating, actual defense technologies, they need that in their country, operated by people they trust. This now is not a theory, everybody should operate this way. Everyone realizes today that this will be the decisive difference between being able to deter their adversary and not, and ending up in a conflict. The second thing is AI. AI, we are all going to be interacting with AI every hour of every day. Not every hour, every minute. It's going to be on a device that's on us. It's going to be in every single application. It's going to be in every interaction. And every government out there knows this, but they also know that if that AI is that embedded into their economy, into their government, frankly, even into their culture, if they have that sort of dependence on other countries, other continents, then when somehow that goes away because the cables that connect them to the internet are gone, have they lost this key part of their economy? They will have. And so what they're saying is, great, if AI is going to be this pervasive, we need it in our country. Those two forces, demand for sovereignty is infinite.
Now, I want to switch gears for a second. Oracle announced a new initiative with the defense ecosystem.
Yep.
Can you tell us about that program and why it's so critical now?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is really hard to work with the United States Department of Defense and with the intelligence community. Frankly, the problem is global, and so we're doing elements of this globally, but it's really hard. And the reason it's hard is because the Department of Defense puts a series of obstacles in front of any company to work with them. There's compliance obstacles, there's security obstacles, there's long sales cycles, there's contractual obstacles. All of these obstacles make it incredibly hard for a small company with an innovative product that our government needs to actually get that in the hands of the person that can use it and help make the government better. Now, put directly, I have lived this. We built this at Oracle. We started from an environment where we had an amazing product. And how are we going to bring this to market for the United States government? And so the obstacles that we ran into as we did that, we have overcome those obstacles. We know how. We have been there, and we can lead you out. And we also have the foundations that we can actually share. And so that's what the heart of the defense ecosystem is. It's taking mission partners that deliver against the Department of Defense's mission and then giving them very practical help. This is not theoretical. This isn't PowerPoints. What this is very practical things. Hey, this technology will get you an ATO faster. Hey, this ability gets you secure office space faster. This can help you get onto big contracts that the Department of Defense already has. Hey, we're talking to a customer. Would you like to go in and talk with us? And so these are very practical elements that make it easier for a small company to get in front of those mission customers.
Fabulous. And you mentioned partners. We have some partners like Palantir and Anduril joining us on
Absolutely.
this. What role do they play in this program?
Yeah, so this is not something the general responsible for Army's Future Command said earlier today. He said, we do not fight alone. And as Oracle, as any of these companies, we do not deliver these capabilities alone. So there are things that Oracle is amazing at. Anduril also has technologies that are out there deployed with the mission set and an SDK that allows you to integrate with those technologies. And so Palantir has something they call Warp Speed that is designed to help small and medium manufacturing companies accelerate how they scale. We are not going to win by having a few precious capabilities. We're going to win by making millions of things. And Oracle and Palantir, we can work together to help you do that. We're actually, Oracle and Palantir are working with Anduril on something like that right now.
Well, just to wrap a little bit of a bow around all of this, how will this program further help the U.S. and its allies address, threat events and, the ability to scale as well?
Yeah. So I sort of said pieces of it earlier. We are only going to deter the next conflict. We are only going to ensure peace by showing that we can innovate and we can do it at scale. And so that innovation isn't housed exclusively in Oracle, although there is a ton of innovation in Oracle. It's not in Palantir, it's not in Anduril, it's in hundreds of companies, maybe thousands of companies. Individuals who are passionate about an idea, they know a mission space, they have a product. And so all of us together can work to bring these capabilities to the Department of Defense and make it easier for them to deter the next conflict.
Great. Thank you so much, Rand, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. After we hear from Census Q and Nokia, I will be back here with Anduril.
I'm Eric. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Census Q. We're an intelligence management software solutions provider. What we do is we provide what we consider to be the world's best tactical intelligence management solution. So oftentimes in today's battlefield, you have a deluge of information. You have drones, signals intelligence, humans intelligence, and the fact is that humans are not able to process all this information. We've built a system that's able to be deployed in hours, not days or weeks, trained in a few moments for soldiers to easily understand and to be able to process and make sense of the situation on the battlefield from an intelligence perspective. We've deployed this in various NATO and Five Eyes countries, and we're happy to be on the Oracle platform as well now.
Good afternoon, my name is Dave Peterson. I'm the Vice President of Tactical Wireless at Nokia Federal, and our mission is to redefine the way warfighters communicate. Right now, our focus is building edge networks that are comprised of 4G, 5G, MAN-A, and edge computes, and we are providing massively scalable bandwidth in austere environments to the warfighter.
I'm here with Keith Salisbury. He is the Senior Director for Strategy for Anduril, and he's currently working on Golden Dome, and before that he was with Connected Warfare. What is Golden Dome?
So Golden Dome is evolving fast. It's our nation's effort to build some form of a air and missile defense shield to protect the United States from our adversaries going forward.
Got it. So that is your focus at Anduril, and I want to start kind of at the top. We've talked a lot today about how government and defense organizations haven't typically been on the forefront of innovation. Why is that, and what impact can that have?
I think there's a couple of dimensions to that. I think we got really good at building incredibly capable, exquisite systems, and the more and more capability we drove into those systems, the more and more complex they became, and the longer it took and the more difficult it was for us to manufacture them. Similarly, from an acquisition perspective, in the era of the $500 hammer, we over-rotated on accountability versus speed to outcomes. So we ended up with rule books to drive that accountability. And when you're the largest organization in the world, DoD is Fortune 1, and you do this at scale over time, and you have that rule book over time, you end up with a lot of rules, and it gets really, really thick. And we've become beholden to that in our acquisition world as well as our budgeting and requirements world, and over time that's served to slow us down a fair amount.
And what is Anduril doing to help change all of that? You guys came in some ways with an entirely different business model than most companies providing technology to the federal government.
So I think the first thing is to remember all those rules that might have ended up in that rule book, they all ended up there for good reason. So you need to deeply understand the challenges that created the conditions that have caused us to move at this glacial pace. You need to understand it as opposed to just outright dismissing it and bashing it. The thing that has made Anduril different is we wanted to break from the cost plus fixed fee construct,
right,
which is what allowed America to harness our entire commercial industrial base in order to deliver the outcome that it did in World War II. If you haven't read Freedom's Forge, every American needs to read that. But Anduril's mindset was to break from that cost plus construct and really invest our own money, our investors' money, to build a capability that is so differentiated in such a powerful way on the most pressing needs within our military, that we drive that innovation and bring that product to bear for defense so they can rapidly acquire and integrate it into the force.
Yeah, and I think lots of companies have watched what you have done, and it's been kind of an inspiration for a lot of the innovation that we continue to see.
Hey, we're betting on ourselves every day, and I think that appeals to most Americans.
Yeah, for sure. Can you talk about the partnership that Anduril has with Oracle and how together we're driving further innovation?
I think the first thing to remember, all these disruptive capabilities that we're starting to see for the warfighter in the form of autonomous systems at the edge, they're possible because the massive amounts of data and compute processing that the cloud made real to the world. That's what's fueled this innovation that's allowing all these autonomous systems to evolve as quickly as they have. At Anduril, we build those autonomous systems. They operate at the tactical edge. So we need to be really good in a software first way and an edge first way, but all of the intelligence and data that we're driving into the edge needs to pull back to the strategic level of war, where the warfighter at a senior level is relying on robust cloud infrastructure. We need to make that seamless in a global way in every combatant command, and the partnership with Oracle is what we lean on in order to make that reality.
And Anduril is partnering with Oracle on the defense ecosystem as well, the partnership that was announced today. And how do you foresee that having an impact on the industry?
I think it's really exciting. And when I watched the presentation, I hearkened back to some experiences we had in our early days. We had a capability we wanted to integrate into a traditional system within our military, but to integrate into that system, one, we had to pay more than $1 million to the prime and then allow them to integrate our technology into that system. We couldn't do it. They had to do it.
Right.
18 months goes by, we're still not integrated, and we're at $1 million. So that's when I decided there's got to be a different route to market. So in partnership, what we're really trying to inspire is an open way for innovators of all shapes and sizes to easily integrate their capabilities into, say, the distributed mesh architecture that's fueling JADC2 across the military, making that very easy for technology companies to integrate to and do that in places like Oracle's developer ecosystem. I think earlier today you presented, hey, a technology company shows up there, you'll facilitate interaction with them with a Palantir developer team to integrate into Palantir technologies in your developer ecosystem. You can't go to a combatant command today where you're not going to find Maven Smart System running. Similarly, being able to integrate into the CDAO's Edge data mesh is a way to make your capability readily accessible for the warfighter. I think those two things that Oracle's fueling in its developer ecosystem just accelerate this pace of small technology companies to get their capability available to our military.
We started this conversation talking about some of the historical slowness in the defense industry, specifically with the government. When you look at the future of government and defense, how do you feel that is changing? Are you optimistic about the speed of change?
I'm super optimistic, and I'll share two vignettes. One, let's look to the past. We poke at some of the challenges of our traditional defense enterprise, but let's not forget the Aegis weapon system was fielded multiple decades ago. That is a classic example of machine-to-machine coordination engaging to defend our carrier strike groups. An incoming threat is detected by sensors that are communicating directly with effectors, and they're engaging that threat with no human intervention. That's amazing technology of autonomous systems. It was fielded multiple decades ago. Now, if you look forward, I think the disruption we've seen of autonomous systems, whether that's in Ukraine, whether that's what's going on right now between Iran and Israel, I think it is widely recognized we can no longer pay lip service to moving fast. We need to be poised at every level to move fast, delivering capability and evolving that capability as the threat changes.
Keith, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, when we get back, I'll be sitting down with Matt Leonard. He is the Oracle Vice President of Edge Cloud. But before we do that, let's hear from Black Shark AI and Metron.
I'm Jeff Allman. I'm a fellow and software engineer at Metron Incorporated. I specialize in building decision support systems and optimization systems. At Metron, we have a 40-year history of delivering fielded, innovative technologies to partners in the U.S. Department of Defense ecosystem. We divide our work into 4 primary pillars. First, decision superiority. Second, resilient mission autonomy. Third, sensor data fusion and target tracking. And fourth, integrated systems. Hi, I'm Brett Clark, the Global Director for GeoInt here at Black Shark. We're a geospatial intelligence and 3D analytics and simulation company. We provide a no-code AI platform that allows a single operator to extract any insight from the pixel information and sensor data that they have. With that information, they can then feed that into our global world engine, which allows them to replicate and recreate 3D digital terrains for simulation, mission planning, and really any other application they may have. Particularly within the defense and intelligence community, we empower the end user and the analyst, the warfighter, to really create their own geospatial intelligence.
All right, I have the pleasure of sitting here with Matt Leonard. He is the Vice President of Edge Cloud, and he was just on stage a few minutes ago. Welcome, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Thanks, Fritz. It's nice to be here. Feeling great. Excited about the launch of our new Compute Cloud at Customer Isolated.
All right, well, let's start a little high level. How are defense organizations looking at adopting cloud? Are they still wary about it, and if so, why?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think Rand was just talking to this on stage during the last presentation, actually. Adoption within defense is typically a very, very slow process. You got to work through all the paperwork, obviously. The ATO processes themselves are incredibly long, right? Like we're looking at sometimes as much as 5 to 7 years to work through the ATO processes. So for us personally, with our roving edge devices, we started the ATO journey with US government about 5 years ago, and we expect to get our accreditation at IL5 here in the next, hopefully, few weeks. But it is a very, very long process. We do also hear some sentiment from our international defense customers with concerns about administration changes and the potential political impact of relying on a US-based hyperscaler. And the way that we go about mitigating that is really giving sovereignty options where everything is operated and managed completely within country, so our customers have complete control over the platform.
Okay, so you named two things: the speed of getting approved, and also the sovereign capabilities of our cloud. What are some other things that are helping defense organizations, feel more comfortable with the cloud?
Really just familiarity, right? So we're trying to get the platforms out there and expose it to them. We're working with key partners in defense and getting them onboarded into our platform and working together to win with Oracle and the partnerships that we have. And that's really helping a lot of these defense customers get more comfortable, because these are solutions that they're familiar with, that they already deploy in their tactical situations, and we're showing them how we can enable the speed of iteration running on top of cloud services.
You mentioned Roving Edge before. How is that enabling technology in remote and complex environment, and what is the impact of that?
Right, so what Roving Edge delivers is OCI services into the most extreme conditions on the planet, right? So we actually built it initially for US military, and then subsequently expanded it out, not just to international defense, but also into commercial opportunities. It turns out that when you build something for the US military, it has a broad application across a bunch of different industries. What that's allowing is essentially OCI to run with no connectivity back to another OCI region, no contact back to our operations teams, run completely autonomously in those environments. And so if you look at the way that modern warfare is evolving, we talk about the Ukraine a lot and some of the conflicts that have been going on there, and the speed of iteration. What Roving Edge is enabling is customers to build on a common platform, build on these OCI services, test their solutions running in an OCI, even public region, and then deploy to the tactical edge operating at the highest security classification levels.
I'm looking forward to it when it can be like in the button of my my jacket.
Me too.
Yeah. We also announced Oracle Cloud Customer Isolated. Can you tell us what that is and why that's important?
Sure. So as we work with defense customers, one of the things that we hear most commonly is the need for isolation of workloads, the ability to run behind an air gap. We have Oracle Isolated Region, and OCI is amazing. We've managed to build the smallest regions on the planet, smaller than any other cloud vendors. But the starting point for that is still fairly high. It's a big investment, it's a long pipeline to get that out the door. With Compute Cloud Customer Isolated, what we can do is we can start very small at about a quarter rack. We can run that behind an air gap. We can deliver OCI Core IaaS into that environment. And that allows our defense customers essentially to have their own deployment for their isolated workloads, whether it's intelligence or defense or Air Force or Army. They're able to deploy that into outpost locations. So if you look at US government here, they can deploy into Hawaii or Australia or New Zealand and have these locations where you're running the same common platform, same set of services, no modifications to your code, but able to run in these potentially air-gapped environments without needing to take a dependency on any external network.
Now, the big topic of the day in general is AI. So we're talking about Roving Edge and Cloud Customer Isolated. How can those environments benefit from AI?
Roving Edge and Compute Cloud Customer at the end of the day are OCI Core IaaS services. We're delivering platform capabilities in, we're not delivering solutions to problems. And what we see in the field is problems, and AI is enabling a lot of the solutions. So back here in our demo booth, we have a number of really interesting solutions, from tactical 5G. So 5G in a box, you can actually strap a 5G network onto your backpack and walk around with it. You can enable Vision AI. So CoreSight, with their Fortify platform, is running facial recognition, and that's being used in a number of military zones around the planet. And it's the leading biofacial recognition system. And so they're essentially able to build a list of known suspects using the Vision AI running inside of their platform. They're able to then identify a suspect at a very high degree of accuracy. One of our other partners in there, Kaniku, they actually built like an organic chip that's capable of sniffing one drop of fentanyl in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And so AI is enabling these type of use cases. Can you imagine a world where you sit in the button, a police officer is able to walk up to a stoppage on the road and essentially using Kaniku's technology running on top of OCI, effectively understand is there bomb-making materials, are there fentanyl, there are other drugs that officer is now able to detect using the Kaniku chip powered by OCI. that same use case, that officer's wearing a body cam, that body cam is creating video footage. And one of the cool use cases that we're seeing is they're actually able to use AI to transcribe and build that daily report that the officer would have spent 4 hours doing instead of doing productive police work. They're able to transcribe and build an AI-based report for that officer using the camera. So the things that we can do in AI are incredible. It's just, we're providing the hardware and the platform to build upon, and the use cases just keep proliferating through our partners.
That's fantastic. Now, one of the other things you talked about is the deployment time, 6 to 8 weeks. What is the path to deployment for solutions like this?
It's a great question. Well, first of all, we like you to place an order. But after you've done that, really for compute cloud customer, it's really about data center readiness, right? Like, does the customer have a space that's ready to take the shipment? As soon as we get verification from the customer that's a go, we build to orders. So all of our C3 isolated modular hardware, you can choose how much compute, how much storage, how much GPU that you need in a particular deployment. Once we get that data center readiness, we build, we ship. We then send trained field engineers, whether it's the customer's staff or partners or Oracle field engineers. We take them out and we bring that system up, and once they're good to go, we walk away, and it's at that point able to run completely air-gapped. Now, on the other side, we did talk about roving edge as well. Roving edge, we can just ship it next day, right? If it's a very large order, obviously we need to send it to the manufacturer, but if it's 1 or 2 orders for a POC, we can ship next day. There's no readiness required because it will literally run off that wall socket right over there.
Just drop shipped right into my
Exactly.
backyard.
Yes.
I love it. Great. Thank you so much, Matt.
No problem.
All right. When we come back, we'll be here with Palantir. But next, you're going to hear from somebody Matt just mentioned, Koniku.
My name is Oshigabi. I'm the founder and CEO of Koniku Corp. We're an early stage company based out in California. We make Smell Cyborgs, a technology that digitizes smell using a platform that is a world's first, that has brain cells that are combined with silicon to detect smell anywhere it may appear in the defense space all the way to healthcare.
I'm here with Meredith Bertasi, the Vice President of Warp Speed at Palantir. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so by the way, such cool names in this industry. Warp Speed, I love it.
We have fun with it, for sure.
Yeah. To start out with, what are some of the challenges defense organizations face when it comes to managing and analyzing data?
Totally. I mean, you could think about the challenges for even a non-defense organization in manufacturing, the scale, the complexity. Oftentimes they've made a lot of acquisitions, and so they might have dozens of source systems they need to work with. And then layer on top of that all the additional constraints working in the defense space with data access and restrictions, whether it's ITAR and CUI to fully air-gapped environments. And then, of course, you need only U.S. persons or U.S. citizens working on it. So it's all of the sort of vanilla pain points of working with data at scale with all kinds of, additional struggles layered in just from the nature of the work.
We heard a lot today about, moving faster than the speed of our adversaries, but what are some of the impacts of not addressing some of these challenges when it comes to analyzing data?
It's really twofold. The first is that you can be quite slow to realize when you have a problem. If you don't have full transparency into your entire production chain from supplier to final delivery, you might be caught very off guard by a potential bottleneck or downtime. And then the second is that even if you are able to identify a problem, say your production line goes down, it's really challenging to pivot and make a new plan in real time. I think Sham had a great quote recently that a plan is worthless, but planning is invaluable. You spend all this time learning and preparing, but if you don't actually have the agility to adapt, then there's really no point in a plan at all.
Yeah, I think we heard the general talk about that a little bit this morning too. So where does Palantir step in?
Well, Palantir launched our Warp Speed program last fall, which is our commitment to reindustrializing the U.S. We really believe that manufacturing is a national security issue. And so we're putting a team of our best engineers against it and building a new operating system, Warp Speed, for the modern manufacturer. What this looks like is different across all of our customers, but we're working on everything from bomb management and engineering design and configuration management through supply chain and planning, all the way to production scheduling and test and eval. So if you imagine having all of those different decision makers connected and working off of the same tooling, it really unlocks a whole new level of kind of infinite planning you could do against all of these different bottlenecks that crop up.
Sure. So why is it so critical that governments and defense organizations embrace AI today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really tough inflection point for the industry. There's kind of the perfect storm brewing. You've got obviously increased scrutiny on source of supply and where materials are coming from. There's a big shift even in the scale of the manufacturing. We heard this morning things are getting smaller and lighter and the volume is going up. And then, on top of all of that, there's more and more firm fixed fee programs coming out where a lot of the sort of back of office processes you might be used to are no longer feasible. And to address all of those challenges, we're not going to win on labor. We need to really lean into where the U.S. has an advantage, which would be in software and AI.
Not to get dark or anything, but can we talk about outcomes when some of these things, I guess, get in our way?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a mission-driven area of Palantir, and is something that, really gets me out of bed in the morning, is thinking about all of the hardware we're working on. Everything we do is through the lens of throughput. And once that hardware is deployed in the field, making sure that it's supporting our troops and allies and the warfighter on the front lines.
So let's talk a little bit more about warp speed, your area. You mentioned it a little bit before. What role does data play in the production of critical machinery, and why is that so important?
Yeah, it really can't be overstated enough. It's been such a pleasure of mine to go see many production facilities across the country where we're making some of the most advanced hardware you could imagine. And folks on the floor are doing this with pen and paper and whiteboards and erasers. And I really view it as we need to remove the burden of information finding from these operators so that they can do what they do best, which is building really, really cool shit. And in order to enable that, you need to get them out of Excel and get them out of email and get them off of a clipboard and into software that's actually going to support their day-to-day operations and decision making. So
when you walk into those environments and you see all of that, does it just break your soul for a few minutes?
It breaks my heart. I always tell my users, my goal is no more Excel, no more copy paste, no more VLOOKUP. The first thing you do when there's an issue shouldn't be try and find the data that tells you what the issue is. And it really gets back to the whole idea of agility and adaptability. And Palantir loves to tout in our platform you should have N LLMs, and I also believe you should have N production plans every day, where the second something changes, a lead engineer is homesick for the day. How do you make sure that you're still going to get the desired throughput that week when maybe a particular plan you were counting on is no longer feasible?
Palantir and Oracle have been partnering together for some time. Can you talk about some of the details of the partnership and how this partnership is helping defense organizations innovate?
Yeah, what's really exciting to me about the partnership, I think, is that we have such a shared mission. And we've really seen a lot of companies shy away from working in the defense and intelligence space. And of course, Palantir has never shied away, and I don't think Oracle has either. And when we look at what is available to users in some of these really challenging or air-gapped environments, oftentimes the technical toolkit is really below the bar. So it's impressive to me that Oracle's offering full feature parity. I think Palantir really shares the same mantra that we should be doubling down in these spaces and not shying away from the problem.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Meredith.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, after we hear from our last two innovators, I'll be back to close up the show. This is Mattermost and Kraken Technology.
Hi, my name is Ian Tim. I'm CEO of Mattermost, and we do secure collaboration in air-gapped environments. So we've got a suite of 5 different products around chat collaboration, audio and screen share, workflow automation, and project management, all coming together with AI agents built on sovereign LLMs and platforms. So be able to customize, provide tools, and automate your different software agents working with multiple users and multiple backends.
Hi, I'm Ryan Scholl. With Kraken Technology Group, we're a software-enabled hardware company that produces a family of autonomous boats. We use a modular open system architecture to be able to fit into sovereign autonomy and C2 structures around the world. We have a modular system payload that has a dual use case for both defense and commercial.
And that's a wrap from the Defense Tech Summit here in Austin, Texas. You know, one of my biggest takeaways is that where there was maybe once this idea of a slow to change defense industry, now there's clearly an imperative to allow technology to help produce the speed and innovation that is needed in this ever-changing, fast-moving threat landscape. And it's going to take an ecosystem of partners, whether those are big established companies or startups with brand new business models and new ideas. We heard from a lot of them here. What a way to spend the day. Thanks for joining us. If you like this content, there's plenty more where that came from. Please give us a follow, a like, or subscribe for more interviews, more thought leadership. There's plenty more where that came from. So long.